All right, everybody, welcome back live at Drew's house. Another edition. Hope everybody is doing well. Our first show of December. Here we are. The holidays have arrived, and it feels kind of weird. Everything is kind of sped up during the pandemic and all that as we've moved through. And hope everybody's doing well and healthy and avoiding the new variant and all that stuff, which I guess is here. But hopefully it stays away. Anyway, no more talk about that. We're just long-time friend of the show, Dave Clay, joins us. We'll bring him in right now. The head coach of Newburyport Clippers Basketball, also a teacher in the school. And Dave, it looks like you are coming to us from school as we speak. How are you, sir?
Great. How are you?
Doing great. Happy holidays to you and yours.
You as well.
First, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say congratulations to your wife for finishing the Boston Marathon.
Oh yeah, she did great. I wish she was here. You could tell her in person, but yeah, she did a great job.
That's awesome.
I knew she would, but that's not an easy thing.
No.
Have you ever done a marathon? You're an athletic guy.
Yeah. No, I don't run. Unless I'm chasing a ball.
I like there to be a ball involved. That's the same with me. But here we are now. So it's winter time, winter season. Everybody knows if you don't remember school, like you do the Thanksgiving, you got the football games, and that kind of wraps up the end of the fall sports. And then right after that Thanksgiving break, winter season, basketball tryouts, all that stuff. I've talked about this with you before, Coach, but we kind of talked a little bit text message wise. This is not an easy time for you, for any coach, when it comes to like tryouts and making cuts. Quite frankly, you hate it, right?
I do. Yes.
A little bit about it.
It's just tough. I mean, I love working in the school and being around the students all day and the student athletes and having easy access to them and building relationships with them. But with that comes the price of, the pain of having to cut a student athlete you really appreciate and really enjoy. And even those who have done the right thing all the time and done everything you asked, and sometimes it's just not their year. And that's definitely the hardest part. And I'm not trying to have a pity party over here. I know it's probably a lot harder on the student athlete, but there's so much thought and consideration that goes into every decision we make, and they're never easy, and just tough.
I think the word you told me was you're kind of in a weird headspace after 3 days of this, and I don't think parents realize that. I don't think, definitely kids don't realize it. I never thought about the coaches when we were going through that. You're in it you're thinking about yourself and your teammates and what the team's going to look like. You never think about how hard that is, but it can be mentally draining, I think is probably the word.
Yeah, mentally, emotionally, it's just tough because some student athletes, and I get it, like take it personal, like, maybe they think I don't like them when I really, I love them more than they know. And it's just nothing. It's never personal. And I understand how they take it personal. It's more about the program, and I have to put the program first. And sometimes it's a numbers game, and there are years I've cut student athletes who would have made it other years, and it's, sometimes there's a good athletic class and other years there's not a good athletic class, and just tough to see those kids because you want to spend time with them during the basketball season and enjoy their company, but you also have to look those kids you cut in the face and say, this kid's better than you, and if they're not, that's hard to do too, because I don't know, it's not fair either way.
I think every coach I have ever played for in my entire life seems to know the story, or at least tell the story. The Michael Jordan story cut from his high school, but I'm sure you've gone that road a few different times. I'm sure you've had to tell that story to other kids. Is that part of your speech?
So with the way cuts, we talk to them, one-on-one, we make the cut, we have a quick meeting, and it has to be quick for that purpose because of so many kids. And then after, I always let them know that if they want to talk about what they need to do to get better, then I'm all about it. And let's come meet, and I'll meet with you, and I'll sit with you, and we'll talk about, the areas you need to improve on for next year. And I'm always trying to pick the best team I possibly can, whether you played the year before or not. It's, I'm not trying to lose. So, and you hope they do, but it's easy to get discouraged when you don't make a team and you put a lot of effort into it, and to think about redoing that process all over again. And, you still putting yourself out there every time you try out. these kids are such in a vulnerable state when they're trying out because, I mean, they're just putting themselves out there for us to evaluate. And it's not easy. And credit to those kids who do it all the time and come back year after year and try out. I always love hearing the comment, "I'll see you next year, coach," or and I want to help them as much as I can get prepared for the following year so they do make it. Because let me tell you, there's no better story to tell during a camp about a kid that our student athletes who are younger can relate to. Like they may not. I mean, they can't relate to Michael Jordan as much as I tell that story. It's like, yeah, it's Michael Jordan, right? But I can tell them about Bob and Joe, who got cut their sophomore year and came back their junior year and made the varsity team, and the leaps and bounds they made. But and that's more relatable to them, and they can maybe see themselves doing that stuff. But it's it's not about us. It's not about the coach. But it should be known that every coach I talk to, I mean, we really don't sleep for 3 days because the decisions you make keep you up.
And that's what the last 72 hours have been.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that there at this time of year. That's the job, I guess. But is there one of those you mentioned, Bob and Joe, I think theoretically, but is there a story that kind of sits with you that always in your head, like, wow, what an amazing growth of a player, of a student athlete that you like to tell?
Yeah, I had a student athlete when I was coaching at Triton. His name was Cam Armand, who 5 of his best buddies moved up to JV his freshman year, and he was like the 7th best player on the freshman team. So theoretically, there were 12 players who were better than him. And when when he worked out, he made it with a purpose. It wasn't just joking around. And that whole off season, he went to camps. Whenever he came in the gym, I mean, he was just going 100 miles an hour, and he had a lot of raw skill. But he skipped the whole JV level, and the following, he went from the 12th best kid in his class to backing up our varsity shooting guard, who was an all-elite player. I mean, he just didn't even have to play JV. He just skipped that whole process. But there's so many things, Drew. It's like some kids haven't hit puberty yet, and they're underdeveloped, but they have a lot of skill, and that holds them back. Some people are extremely athletic and make it just based off their, athleticism and the fact that they can defend anyone, Sometimes you have a lot of guards and you need height, and that, 8th guard may be better than your 3rd big man, but you need big guys too.
That's the thing, because basketball is one of those weird sports where it's like, it's not, you need a group to gel together. So, I mean, if you got a bunch of great point guards that can run the offense, like, okay, that's great. That point guard needs somebody that can catch and shoot too. Like, so it's a weird mix of you trying to find the best players, but you're also trying to find the best group of players that will gel together to make the best team, right?
Yeah. And then on top of like the one, we want good people too. Like just, we have enough on our plate as coaches dealing with, being teachers first of all. And then, I know every coach pours their heart into the season, and then, you don't want to have to deal with off the court behaviors. It just takes you away from what you should be focusing on. So,
I'm not even sure what the rules are on that, but there is no way. I mean, coaches are human. There's no way they don't take that stuff into consideration, right? Like, I remember kids trying out for certain sports, and it was like, why would a coach want you on your team? You're like a negative guy. Like, you bring people down. Like, it's saying, it has to go against kids. I don't care what you can do on the court. Like that, those things have to play a role as your makeup, what makes you a whole person, right?
100%. I mean, you can usually tell who like the top 8 to 10 players are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes the last 4 or 5 are guys who are going to understand their role and be okay with that and not be upset that, they need to have a good self-realization of their skill and understand that they have more growing to do and can't be a pity party on the bench if they're not playing or feeling bad for themselves if they're not playing. You need those kids with that mental attitude of, I'm going to come and practice every day and work my tail off, and I'll let the chips fall where they may. But, and then always the kids who cut themselves before they even give themselves a chance. Like I had one kid who I thought for sure would be on varsity, and he didn't try out because he didn't think he was going to make it. And just for me, I never want to have to go to a kid and tell him you should play because, if he doesn't make it, then I feel awful. And if he doesn't play a lot, So I never really want to have that conversation. But it's interesting to see their perception of their skill and what we think about them. But they have to, want to do it their own.
And I mean, I know you as a teacher and a coach, you have to you get to really learn these kids and know what they're all about, and you connect with them in ways that other people do not. I wonder. I've always kind of thought this too. As like you're so close to it as a coach. Do sometimes you guys even catch yourself and be like, yeah, that was a teaching moment, or maybe that was obviously Johnny shouldn't have done that, but like, do you ever kind of catch yourself and say, you're still a kid too, like sometimes some of these kids are so mature and so athletic and whatever, that sometimes you almost forget how young they are. Do you guys have to catch yourself sometimes with that as teachers?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Teachers and coaches. I mean, it's, Newburyport basketball has been my everything since I started playing at Newburyport. And I take it very seriously, and to sometimes to not in a good point, like it's detrimental to their health, you know what I mean? And like what they're trying to do, but it's just something I'm very passionate about and something I love. And once kids understand that and they know where I'm coming from and how much this means to me, I think they have a little bit more realization of my passion and my intensity sometimes. But I also got to learn to, meet kids where they're at too, and not just expect them to be okay with how I coach, most people.
Yeah, still learning as a coach. I think some of the greats say that Coach K, I think, said he's still learning. This is his final season at Duke, and I think I heard him say that recently. But so again, Coach Dave Clay joining us, Newburyport High School. So when you talk about making all these cuts, I'm just curious. Newburyport is not it's a city. It's not a small school. What is basketball is a very popular sport. What is the numbers breakdown? Like, what are you guys looking at just from an on paper perspective?
Yeah, so we usually have between like mid 60s to low 70s with numbers of trying out, and unfortunately, usually around half to a little bit less than half of those kids are cut. We have a phenomenal youth organization, the NBBA, and they also offer a high school rec league. So those kids who don't make it and who still love the game and want to play, they have an opportunity to have a rec league team and play games every Saturday, so they're with real officials, it's like, it's as close to competitive high school basketball as you're going to get without it being actually on the team. And I think it's a great tool and a great alternative. And they produce some very good basketball players that I'm fortunate enough to, come this way.
And I'm sure you would love to have 6-7 Newburyport teams that all have coached by your assistants that could all go out there and you could just watch basketball all day. I know that part's true, but you can't keep everybody, obviously. It's a funny story. I will actually play out that a little bit. I got a bunch of my guys still play ball to this day. Just played with one of them the other day. But we're all good players. But Danvers had a year like that where it was like 60, 70 people going out when I was at Danvers High. And I remember a bunch of us, we all got caught. We all figured all our friends were the ones that made the team. And like, we were like, oh God, we play with them. We beat those guys, we got to the point where we went to the local Y. We started playing every day after school, Danvers YMCA. And like, it got to the point where I think we had so much respect as a unit, and the kids that actually made the varsity team had so much respect for us. They're damn good. It's probably a good run for us, that we ended up starting to play the varsity just on our own time. The varsity would challenge what we were calling Team Y. And it was a blast. I remember it being like great fun, like pickup games. And the varsity guys loved it because it was like good competitive run that was like, there was some rivalry there, and it was just fun. It was like one of those high school memories I'll never remember. So I don't know, if you get cut, don't stop playing,
No, that's the last thing we want to see, and sometimes, Drew, it's just a numbers game. Like, in a perfect coaching world, you would have 4 seniors, 4 juniors, 4 sophomores. So you have continued success. So you need to limit like how many kids from each class you take. Because if I take, say, 12 seniors, the following year is going to be, they're going to be asking me questions like, how did you set yourself up for this? So you just got to, I mean,
Yeah. And at least you guys do have the JV team and everything. So it's not every program is, not every school has the luxury of having a JV and a freshman, which is great. I know you put a lot of faith in your assistant coaches to kind of groom the younger, not necessarily younger all the time, but to groom those other teams up. And you feeling good about the coaching staff in that regard again?
oh man, Drew, I'm so lucky. I have phenomenal coaches. My JV coach will be a head coach someday when that opportunity arises and he finds a place he likes. He's actually from Beverly, and he was a player who his junior year was asked to play JV instead of varsity, which, some players, when they're presented with that opportunity, don't take it. But he did, and then he worked his tail off. And he tells his story often with his players that get cut. And he ended up earning it. He ended up going to summer league games when other players wouldn't, did all the little extra stuff, ended up starting varsity his senior year after not, and it's good to hear those stories and be able to talk to people about what they did. But my coaches they both work in the school. They're both 7th grade middle school teachers.
Who was that assistant? That
That is Tim Mahan.
Tim Mahan. Okay.
Yep. And then Chris Pura is our freshman coach. They're both in the Rupert A. Knock Middle School. And then, all of my coaches are teachers right now, or one is retired, but it's just nice having educators who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can, not all educators, but I try to get just good people in the on our staff. Like I don't really care. The basketball knowledge is irrelevant. I want my players to have people they can talk to, look up to, and learn how to behave like a good citizen.
What is the outlook? I know you got some returning guys from last year. Newburyport, you have built quite a program over there. It's kind of a team. You're spitting out good teams year after year. Give us a little sneak peek of this year. Can you already kind of feel it? What you got coming?
It's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I don't think the league. I don't know what the league thinks, but I think we have a good team coming back. They played a lot of basketball between the end of the last season. 3 summer leagues, a fall league. They've been playing a lot, and that just builds camaraderie, and they're gelling. The car rides there and back, and so they have a good connection. And we have some pieces who we haven't seen play in a while, and I'm excited to see them grow throughout the season. And I'm just excited about the group. It's just a solid group of people.
Do you already know your captains, or is that something that actually happens on the floor in those first practices?
No, yeah, no. I'm going to revisit that this year, but when I was at Triton, we never picked captains until the start of the season, and that was kind of cool because you got to see who wants to take on a leadership role. But I also, from a coach's standpoint, I can't have much dialogue with my players during the off season. I can't call them up and tell them to get to a summer league game. So having a captain who takes on that responsibility is huge, and that was Finn Sullivan and Rona Brown and James Scale. There's just a bunch of guys who really took the lead on making sure we had people at every game and enough people at every game. It was awesome.
It's always good too. Some of those guys, I remember a lot of the varsity guys would, some better than others at any sport, depending on which one, would be good about kind of working with, keeping their eye on JV. Not necessarily they're in charge of the program or anything, but if they see a JV or a freshman player maybe making the same mistake all the time, because you don't necessarily practice together, but you're all kind of under the same umbrella and crossing paths. It's always good to see those leaders, especially help out the other guys, whether it be JV or freshmen.
You hit it on the nail right there. It is so exciting to watch them interact with younger players and show them. It just shows me how much they care about the program because they're investing in helping that individual get better for the betterment of them in our program. And I love my leaders. We have 5 captains. They're all the 5 seniors in our program right now, and they all offer a different style of leadership. And captains are a weird thing. I could have a non-captain be the leader of our program. It's not I don't think leadership is really a title. It's more of who someone is, and a lot of our guys do it by their actions, and some do it, vocally and by actions. And I'm very lucky to have the kids I have in our program.
Absolutely. Final minute or two here with Dave Clay, the head coach of Newburyport Clippers Basketball, who I believe is skipping his lunch break to join us here after 3 days of tryouts. So thank you very much for that. Coming to us from school.
No, I love this. I always enjoy talking to you.
You're a good man for doing it. We always appreciate it, and we can't wait to get out and see some basketball games this year. How nice will that be to finally have like fans and to have you guys always have a good home court advantage, but to have fans back after the pandemic, like so much other stuff that people don't even think of that you were dealing with, bus rides, sitting on buses, masking up on buses, masking up on the court. Like, I mean, I can't even imagine how difficult that was to police over the last couple of years. And I know you have a lot of respect for that group of last year's seniors, and I guess the group before that too, who had to go through all of that. I'm sure that's a group that will stick with you probably forever.
Oh man, love them. I love them. I mean, that last year's group and the year before that, like you know, last year's group in particular, though, they were the freshmen my first year coaching at Newburyport, and so we both were kind of, you know, getting our feet wet at the same time, and just the relationships we built, and it's been great seeing them have fun in college, and you know, just take a different path and try different things, and they're all great kids there. I mean, I miss them a lot, and I'm excited to see them over Christmas break and have them play with our guys and hopefully beat them up a little bit. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing them all. I miss them a lot, and it's one group I really felt bad for because they didn't get to have the fans cheer for them like those before them, and that broke my heart. I think it broke some of their hearts. It was hard for them, but they rallied and they created their own energy, and they just made the best of the situation. And if there was any group I ever had to go through that with, and this is no offense to any other group I've coached, I was very lucky to have that particular group. I mean, they handled it with grace. They just did it perfectly. I mean, it was awesome.
And I know you love it when those kids come back to the program and shoot around a little, right?
Oh, it just reaffirms why you coach. You know, when you get to see them, and sometimes you see them 4 years later. I was talking to one I had at Triton, who I coached in graduated in 2011, and he was actually out to eat at a bar, and the kid behind the bar I had as a student, and somehow my name got brought up, so he texted me a joke the kid was ragging on me about, and it was just good. It's just good to catch up with them and see how they're doing. And I mean, I think any coach will tell you that wins and losses aside, you really figure out if you're a successful coach like 20 years from now, when I find out like who these young men become to be. Like, are they going to be good dads? Are they going to be like hold jobs? Are they going to be good to people? Are they going to say, you know what I mean? Like, that's when I'll know that I did my job. But until then, we're just going to have fun and do our best.
Well said. Nothing makes you feel like you're getting older like seeing a former student at the bar, right?
Oh man!
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that's. I wish you all the best here for the winter season. Real quickly, if there was one thing, because there's still some coaches going through the end of tryouts right now. If there's one thing you'd want parents or kids to know from a coach's perspective here as the tryout kind of session winds down in the next couple of days for all these other schools, what would it be from a coach's perspective?
Every coach has a huge heart, no matter how hard they come across on the court. I know a lot of coaches who I'm scared of when I coach against them. And then when we're texting and calling and talking to each other throughout the season, and especially now when we all need for us support through it. And I know it sounds ridiculous because the kids are probably hurting a lot more, but all these guys have huge hearts. Like, we're not into coaching for salary by any means. We love the sport, and we love helping mold children through the sport, and we take cuts very seriously, and it is never an easy process, and there is so much thought that goes behind it. And are we going to be wrong sometimes? Yeah, and we're going to make mistakes, and sometimes we cut kids, and that I cut a kid last year that I still think about today, and it pains me that I made that decision, and I wish I hadn't. After the season, I apologized to him because he made a mistake his freshman year, and then like you said, he's a kid, and it's just tough. We try to do the best we can, and we try to look out for the overall program, but we understand that's your child and that you care like so much about how they feel and what they're going through right now. But our first priority is like the program, you know, and what's best for that. And we still love and care about your kid, and it's like they want a letter of recommendation, they want anything, I'm going to be here for them, you know, and they want to still have conversations and talk and meet up and have coffee. Like, please, yes, because I do care about them. It's just, you know, and I don't know, it's just one of those things. And, you know, even when it's behind me, I know that this will, one in particular cut I had to make this year is, you know, I'm still bothered by it. I don't, you know, sorry about that. I don't feel good about it.
Say that one more time. The bell took you out.
Oh yeah, no, there was one cut this year that's still lingering with me, and it, you know, kept me up last night, and I'm thinking about him, and you don't know how to approach him and say like, man, I care so much about you, and I'm sorry this had to happen. Because it's hard to say that when you're the person cutting them, you know, and there's only so many jerseys. It's just, yeah. And I'm sure he doesn't want to hear from me, and I get it. You know, I definitely get it. And I've got to give it some time. And hopefully our relationship that we've built up to this point.
Well, I mean, it's great insight from within those walls, and I think people don't get to see it. So I thank you for sharing those personal stories, and I think that's why players, I think, love playing for you. You can see how much you care, and that's why you don't usually hear too many bad words about playing for Coach Clay over at Newburyport. So there you go.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And the school, with the school bell, I think we'll let you get back to work. That's probably our sign to end it as well. But can't wait to see you at the court this year, Coach. Good luck to Newburyport Clippers basketball. Can't wait to see you in front of a packed house there at the high school, and that'll be fun.
I cannot wait to see you. Our game's going to be announced this year. Is that a possibility of?
It is a possibility. Yeah, I don't know what the plan is yet, but we kind of go day by day in the pandemic over at the station. We will see.
Say no more. I get it.
We will see. We've been trucking along pretty good, so we'll see. We'll see once that place opens up how it all plays out. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be over there. I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward and congratulations, happy holidays to a big, happy, healthy family over there that's growing in the Clay family.
Yeah, 2 girls now. Excited.
Put the whole different spin on Christmas, doesn't it?
Woo, everything. Basketball season, the whole 9, man. It is a game changer, but I wouldn't want it any other way right now. It's the best.
Good stuff. Well, and with that, Coach Dave Clay, thanks for the time as always, man.
Thank you, Drew.
Live at Drew's house, another edition. We'll see you next time, everybody. That's it for the week. Have a good weekend, all right? Happy holidays.